All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses with Rookies. And I have to tell you that we have new intro music. And it's like, I hope everybody likes it because it was a little bit to create it for me. And it's very patriotic, Peter, which is what I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
Look at
there
you.
you go.
Look at you, a composer.
Yeah,
That's like me
exactly.
being a real estate guy. What's happening here? We're switching roles.
All right, here we are, episode number 430. Here is the title of today's episode, Breakthrough Rookie Secrets that Flip Sellers into Creative Finance Deals Skillfully. Here's the description. Get my tickle out of my throat. Here we go. Listen up, rookies. If you're sick and tired of watching fat cat investors snatch up all those juicy deals while you're left scraping the bottom of the real estate barrel, then this episode is about to change your life. I'm talking about the skill to flip those all-cash sellers, who are often rude to you, by the way, into sellers falling all over themselves to hand you keys to their property, all while using creative finance strategies. And this is not wishy-washy, maybe it'll work advice. These are battle-tested, street-smart tactics that have turned wet behind the ear newbies into deal-closing machines. We're talking about the kind of insider knowledge that usually takes years of costly mistakes to learn. But you're getting it all handed to you on a silver platter. Today, you will have the chance to take your roadblocks and turn them into your own secrets. Don't let another golden opportunity pass by you. Tune in now, take notes, as if your future you will look back and see the turning point of your financial freedom.
Well,
there you go.
There's some words there, Mr. Hawthorne.
I have expressed myself.
Yes. Good for you.
All right, let's do some housekeeping. We're still working on the private podcast. It's a little bit longer than I wanted to go. I will be releasing that link pretty soon. I'm probably guessing, I don't know, pretty soon, maybe another 5 or 10 episodes here, maybe, and then we're going to switch everything over to the private podcast. The reason why it's taking a little bit longer because I have this crazy idea that I've been writing newsletters. I have a newsletter. What do you call it? I guess business, where I write about creative real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want to turn that newsletter into an audio newsletter. So instead of reading it, you listen. I'll read it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a podcast. It's like a 20-minute podcast, right? So I'm working on all that in the background. I think it's pretty exciting. Maybe others don't, but we will soon find out. I promise.
So being a newsletter, would that be something that's more like time sensitive, like what's happening currently? And
it's possible. I think I'm doing this with a different business, but what I was thinking about doing is a journey, like a journey newsletter. Like, this is what happened to me when I was doing this. So I was thinking about problems that I have in my business and just start talking about them. And going through a journey of how I resolved them.
Oh, that would be really good.
Yeah,
because that's real stuff that people have happen,
right.
And what do? They hear what you had to do to get through things. It makes it really real, and there's solutions to stuff. That'd be good. I like it.
Because you know me, I don't give up.
Well, you can't, So
all right. In the meantime, if you're here, don't forget to subscribe to us. Make sure you like us wherever you're watching or seeing us. We do this podcast 9:30 or so every Eastern time every Thursday morning, so you can catch us on YouTube, 2 channels on YouTube on Flipping Houses for Rookies or Creative REI Reply, which is a software we have. And you can also catch us on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you go to any one of those platforms, you can watch us live, and wherever they allow you to type or put in comments or whatever you can do. If you have a question, you can type it there, and it pops up on my screen, and I'm able to help you as long as it's a question about the podcast, because I talk too much, so I have enough trouble trying to get everything in 1 hour. I don't want to go off. I could go on an hour. I could, at a drop of a hat, as you well know, I could stand up in front of a stage and I could talk about real estate for 8 hours or more, or days. I could just take questions and that's just me. I just love real estate. In any event, if you have questions outside of the podcast, you can head on over to flippinghousesforrookies.com, hit the support ticket on the top right-hand side, or you can head over to Creative REI Reply, which is our software, and support there. Both come to me lately. The Creative REI Reply tickets come because I have an assistant over there, or a person that runs that, and they text me when they're there. Where the Flipping Houses for Rookies, I don't always get them as quick. I used to do it every day, but I don't anymore. All right, enough of that. All right, Pete, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start off with the pace today. Let's start the pace off today with this one simple idea that can change your life forever. And it seems too simple. I almost didn't do this. I wrote the first page of this, because usually when I make notes, I have 9 or 10 pages of notes for me to do a podcast with. Mm-hmm. And I find that much better. I had a coaching client that I just fired, by the way, told me, "You sound like you're reading when you're on the podcast." I'm like, "Yeah, I am reading, because I did freaking 5 hours worth of research to be able to get where I want to be. And I want to make sure I get everything in. Sometimes it's just researching my own shit. You know what I mean? But anyways, so I wrote this first page, and I sat on it for a day or so, because I'm like, do I really want to do this in a podcast? Because I'm not sure that it will be believed.
Wow.
But it's because it's too simple. Because people will think, yeah, well, I already knew that, right? But here it is. Here it is. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you this from the core of my heart. Out of everything that I could teach you about getting deals, this is way, way at the bottom. This is the part where you dig a hole and you put the foundation in and nobody sees it, and then the house goes up. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here you go. Your words matter. In fact, I would go as far as to say the words you use in your creative real estate conversations directly, absolutely, positively correlate or match and have a very strong connection to the balance in your checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
The words you use or don't use. And oh yeah, by the way, it's not just the words. And I'm not talking about having big words. I'm talking about the right words, the right time, and the right tonality and everything else. So we're going to not talk about that this whole podcast. It's just the beginning of what I want to talk about today. Okay. But I have to mention this because before we begin, as important as words are, and the ability to turn words into movies in the mind, right? You know that because I do that with you every time you listen to this podcast. The way I talk, for whatever reason, I create images and I create movies and I create, like little clips in your mind so you can see it, right? And as much as that's important, and how I can go off on a complete tangent for the rest of the day about this, because I'm telling you, I have made millions of dollars because of this one concept. Millions of dollars over 30 years. Okay? There's another huge factor that not enough people talk about or understand. Basically because I get accused often of taking simple things and everyday things and turning them profound. Right? Do you agree?
Yeah, well, the simplest things are the most powerful, and it's very easy to overlook it. I'm a teacher, and that happens all the time. You show somebody something, yeah, they go, no, wait, no, 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 no. You dig into it. You
Right.
take a real look at it, you go, oh my God.
I think this probably happened to me a long time ago because I don't know where I read this. I read it in something because I read way too much. Um, now I'm gone from reading to prolifically writing. So so the point is this. I don't remember the exact story, and it doesn't really matter. But it was talked. It was this whole long thing. There's a whole chapter in the book talking about this guy in the 1800s or early 1900s buys all this equipment, spends his life savings, comes across the country. He buys this land, right? And he buys all the equipment to dig for gold.
Mm-hmm.
And he digs and 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 he goes bankrupt.
Yep.
So he goes into the local city, and I'm sure you guys have heard this story. He goes into the local city and he sells everything to the guy. And the guy that buys the first thing he does is he goes in and he has somebody survey the land, has somebody do whatever they do, and they moved the machine where he was digging the hole 8 inches in one direction, and he became a multimillionaire. So I believe you don't need a big wide area. You just need to pick a topic, or you need to pick something that you're really interested in and drill deep. And that's why I do this, right? So enough sidetracking. So there's another huge factor that I'm not enough talk about or understand. And that's a twofold concept, which is what we're going to talk about today. Number one, attention units. And number two, transformation. Now, I'm going to tell you 1,000%, as profound as I could be, as loud and clear as I can make this, your entire life, your entire existence runs around these two things: attention units and transformation. I'm too fat. I need to lose weight. There you go. I don't have enough money. I'm broke. I need to make more money. I need to get to work by 8 o'clock. I need to get that project done for the boss. I need to buy new socks. I need to make more money. Your entire life runs this way. And remember I told you, it's the underground, dig the hole foundation, and it's buried and you don't even know it's there. Right?
Yeah.
So definitely not common language for a real estate podcast.
Nope.
Or most people. So if you want to leave now, go ahead, because I don't want to bore you, but I'm telling you, I'm going to teach you something that most don't teach because it's not exciting and thrilling. It's not as good as buying that shiny object that will get you 2,000 leads tomorrow and get you 13 phone calls. But I promise you, if you listen to me today, I will open your eyes up to something that nobody else has opened your eyes up to. So let's first tackle attention. What does it mean? This simply means the act of directing the mind. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to stop there.
What's that?
Because I could go on for a whole nother podcast. What did I just say? Directing the mind. Wait a minute. Does that mean?
Oh, geez.
Does that mean that you have the ability to direct your mind, or is your mind directing you? Which one is it?
Oh man! Now you're not in the rabbit hole. You're in the basement of.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So this simply means the act of directing the mind to listen, see something, or understand something. Almost like you're immersed in it or swimming in it. I could tell you lately, my own personal study, which I've not told anybody. This is the first time the words will pass my lips. It is incredible incredible, absolutely over the edge, fascinating how many people are not there in present time when you're talking to them. They are somewhere else, doing something else, thinking about something else, and not paying attention, including you, Peter, because that's where the
Oh,
study
me?
started. Yes,
Oh,
you
me?
and my wife and my kids sometimes. It started there. It is amazing when they are not, you don't know whether they're there. Yeah, they're standing there, but where is their attention? Is it immersed in you and what you're saying, or is it somewhere else? Are they thinking about going to get lunch? In other words, attention is understand it means it becomes you. When you have attention on something and you pervade it like in a, like a ghost walking through a wall, right? When you pervade it, you stop thinking about it. When you have the right attention units, you don't need to think. Thinking is bad. Thinking is scanning through all the past experiences that you had that were bad, and you're hanging on to them so you don't do them again. You don't scan all the good things you did because you forgot about those, because those went well and you don't have attention on those. You only have attention on the shit that went bad. So when you're thinking, you're using bad information. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that attention, and when you understand it, is just part of you. Now it's just a natural habit. It's just who you are. Because it's sunk in and you don't have to think about it. You just do it.
Sounds like the way you're describing it, thinking is trying to know, but you're stuck in a bunch of whatever the heck.
Mm-hmm.
When you finally actually pay attention, you might really know what's happening. And then you don't have to think anymore because you actually know. Oh, I see. I understand. Okay, good. Now I know. Then you could do something because you're not still going round and round and round the bush on the damn thing.
Exactly.
Am I close?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
All right, good.
All right. Now what about transformation?
Yeah.
Well, this is a specific thing to use. Here's why. It means your words have created a movie, or your imagination or your environment or something has created this movie in your mind. In this particular case, it's the seller's mind of what we can do for them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're watching this in action mentally. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
I need to get all cash.
Right.
Why? Because they have some idea of how this is going to play out.
Yep.
But transformation is the end result that causes the decision. Like, I'm here, I need to go there. Right?
So you're talking transform, talking something moving from this to, oh, wait a minute,
Right.
maybe that.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute, maybe that instead. But it has to move somewhere, or else you're both stuck and not going anywhere.
Right.
You both got to wind up somewhere.
Now listen to me, because this is the most impinging part. This next sentence is the only thing you should listen to in this entire podcast. I hope you walk away with this, if anything. You should walk away with everything, but this is important. So your seller has a reality or some idea of what that transformation looks like. You have another idea.
Mm.
His idea is a circle, and your idea is a square.
Yeah.
What happens with too many entrepreneurs is they argue about their square being right, and the circle is not even considered. So what happens while you're not making deals is you're talking about squares and the seller's thinking about circles. And you don't agree on the transformation and how it could be. It's very profound. Okay, let me continue here. Transformation is a drastic change in the seller's mind because of new data that you have not only presented to the seller, but help the seller fact check it. Fact check it. So they can too believe. They too can believe. It becomes part of them. That's your job as a creative real estate entrepreneur, is to get the circle into a square. Or use the circle and build your offer based on a circle and remove your square, which is more likely with our rookies because they have a square and a square isn't even in the formula and they think it is. They'll never make that. They'll never take that offer. How many times I've heard coaching clients say that. And then I get on the phone and 15 minutes later, I got a deal exactly the way they said they wouldn't do it. Subject to, that happens a lot with subject to. There's no way somebody would give me the deed to their house and leave the mortgage in their name. No, there's no way you would do that, but others do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're one thing. The seller is something else. Like, don't confuse them.
Right.
It's not you. They're not you.
All right. So let's hop out of the profound pool. Enough of that. And get into the reality on this. Right? But I want to handle something real quick because I told you I have somebody out working on one of my furnaces. And
so this will be real life, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. All right, good. So we got a bad gas valve. Okay. All right. So the first, let me see. Let me catch up to myself here. All right. So let's hop out of the. Okay. So the first error most make when talking to sellers, the first error is when you do something wrong, because my accent's a little bit weird there. The first error most make when talking to sellers is timing or out of sequence. See, the proposal process or offer process cannot be done without first understanding what conversation or problem the seller is already having in their head. What transformation cycle are they in? Oh, I'm going to get all cash. Oh, yeah. The neighbor's house sold for $380 and my house has an extra bathroom and an extra car garage, so I'm going to get $480.
Yeah, sure. I'll write the check right now.
And they have this movie or this idea or this concept or this imaginary thing in their mind, and they believe it. Because if they were to get $480, well, that extra $100,000, I could go buy another house and I could get, buy my sister's house and not have a mortgage. Oh my God, it's a great, the warm and fuzzies. And they believe it. Okay. So the conversation they're already having in their head. Now, this comes up a lot lately with some of our coaching clients. They said they're here. Hello, Bill, I'm here. Well, you're here.
Fahim? Hello, welcome, Fahim.
Fahim, okay, good. Okay, now this comes up a lot with our coaching clients. Here's what I mean. This comes up with you a lot. Seller says or asks for the proposal. Seller asks for the proposal or offer up front in a text before discovering what the seller's situation is. In a text. Now, let's just divert for 1 second, Peter. Why do you think a seller would do that?
Because that's all they care about. That's their circle. That's what they
I
want.
disagree.
Oh,
1000% disagree.
all right, good. Help us
I
there. Tell
disagree
us.
because I've thought about this. I've studied it. I've talked to people. I've talked to a dozen people about this.
I never actually thought about why they would do that. They just do it. So
Well,
we
because
get
you're
it.
violating what I just told you. What
Yeah,
conversation are they having in their head? You haven't thought about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You're not listening to them. You're listening to what you say. Oh my God. Hang on a second. He wants $1,300.
This is the plumber to fix the wow, to fix a gas valve in a heating system in the house that's not getting heat.
Okay. So, oh, that rattled me. See what just happened? My
Hmm.
attention just got knocked out and I lost track of what I was even saying to you. See how
Yeah.
it works?
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
They were saying how good I was at all this stuff.
yeah, right. So, so what happens is with texting, the reason why the seller is saying to you, make me an offer, is because they've been texted by many other not so dedicated investors. They're telling them they could buy their house and they have either been betrayed or let down or invalidated. Invalidated means that there was no response and they're just like they just walked off and they're just like, you know, like there was no communication. And they feel invalidated. Like, why would I? So they've had all this happen to them before you came along.
Bill, they're also getting offers up front from these people, aren't they? Because I've been in those houses. They're getting offers like, I'll buy your house for, and they give them a real low ball number usually. So does it go back that far that they're getting numbers thrown at them and they're tired of it? So they're throwing numbers
Well,
back
let
at
me
us.
ask you this question: if somebody got an offer on a house and they're trying to sell it to you, what does that mean?
Oh, they didn't like the other offer.
Okay, so it
Yeah,
goes falls into what I was just saying is
yeah.
that they are trying to uh, pre-qualify you
Hmm.
to see if it's worth talking to you.
It's like they're testing us.
No, it's not like they are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, I was in a house once. The guy, I did some kind of an offer, and he says, "Oh, that was much better than this one." He gave me a postcard that was ripped in shreds that was on his counter still before he thrown it away from these guys. Blah blah. I won't mention the name. For wicked lowball offer. So that's what you're talking about. They've already been inundated with all this stuff, offers thrown at them, and they're just like, "Oh my god." So they throw an offer back at us to see if we're real, if we're going to just go away and stop bothering them, or maybe actually do something for them. And, that's good that you do that because I don't think that deep what's been going on with the guy, but that certainly has been. And when you talk to people, what do they say? Oh man, I get like 5 offers a day.
Right.
So they're tired of all this stuff. So they're like, um, seeing if they want to talk to us at all, like trying to filter us. They're filtering, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're pre-qualing us like we think we're pre-qualing them. They're doing it to us. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time to put this into our text responses, but I'm going to ask that you do it. As a matter of fact, if you're listening to me right now, if you're driving or exercising or doing something and not even paying attention, just I'm in the background, that's a mistake because I'm going to give you things that you should write down today. I'm going to give you things that you can say or do that are not on any scripts. They're on this podcast, and that's the only place you're ever going to hear them.
Mm.
And that's because they are wicked advanced. So I suggest you write these things down, starting with this.
Mm-hmm.
So Here's what you should say or handle, and it's probably going to be in a text because they aren't talking to you yet.
Right. They don't want to talk.
So here's how you should respond, and we should put this into our canned responses for the VA too.
Sure.
So they say they want an offer. Send me an offer.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. I would be open to putting together an offer for you. I would be open to putting together an offer for you, comma. But just so you know, comma, I'm not quite sure we can help you, exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
It might be better for you if we ask a few questions. It might be better for you if we ask a few questions about what you need and want, comma. Now, I'm not going to try to explain all this, but there is an amazing thought behind this because the next thing is, comma, and by when, comma, so you can possibly get more than you expected, period. Now, when I like to send texts, unless I'm done with the conversation, which could be, I want to leave some sort of a question that they have to respond to, so I keep them engaged.
Exactly.
So the last sentence is, would it help if we did that for you? So I'm just going to read the whole thing now that you've written it down, so you can check it. I would be open to putting together an offer for you, but just so you know, I'm not quite sure we can help you. It might be better for you if we ask a few questions about what you need and want and by when, so you can possibly get more than you expected. Would it help if we did this for you?
Got it.
Okay. Next thing about proposals or making offers that way too many people miss is every offer needs to lay out 2 or 3 of the seller's concerns. You've done your discovery. You know what their concerns are. And I'm not even saying that they're like major concerns, but they're concerns, what their barriers are, or what their problems they think they have. So you know that they want to move by May 30th. You know that they used a realtor and it didn't work. And you know that the wife wants to move immediately. Your offer should contain that language. If you go with me, I can get you closed before May 30th. If you allow me to send you an option agreement, I can, I'm kind of making it up here, but you would include what they said in your offer. So each step of your offer will address the concerns they had. It reiterates what you're talking about, right? This is important because it reminds them of the issues they want to solve and brings them back to the emotions they feel or not confronting and doing something about it. So the offer isn't just an offer where they go off and say, I can't do that. Right? This guy's a joke. He doesn't want to give me numbers. He wants to give me 13. I'm sorry, I'm distracted here. He wants to tell me it's $1,300, and I said, well, what is it? He says, well, it's the cost of parts and labor. I said, of course it's the parts and labor. How much for the valve and how much is the labor?
Exactly.
Well, the valve's a little bit over half of it, and then there's $100 service call, and the rest is labor. Oh, okay. Now he could just wait. He could sit there and wait.
Yeah. I hate when people give you a number like, well, what do you charge per hour? Well, you know, when it comes to plumbers, they got this book. They look at it and it says a number.
Yeah.
I don't like those guys. I like the guys that work for $100 an hour and here's the part. They make money. Everybody lives, but geez, you have to gouge us.
Okay.
But that makes sense. If somebody says, this is what's on my mind, that his little hurdles that he's stuck on, you got to show, well, we'll do this, and that'll solve that. He goes, oh, good. You know.
Or at least bring it back up so you re-stimulate or re-energize or refocus why they're talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows your value. We'll get into that in a minute. But it shows your value.
Yeah.
Okay? And that you're doing something about it. Now, this is majorly crucial and never thought of or ever used. I talked about attention units.
Mm-hmm.
If the seller has all their attention on the problems in the deal, what will the seller get more of? The problems in the deal.
Mm-hmm.
If you think, I'm broke, what are you going to get? More broke.
More broke.
Right? If you think, I don't feel good, what are you going to get more of?
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel good. Right? Which means our job is to transform the seller's attitude or scarcity, meaning not enough of, solutions that would change the seller's viewpoint and character. You need to give them some bright ideas and start rocking the car like it's stuck in the mud or the snow.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you do that? You get a car that's stuck in the mud or the snow and you kind of rock it back and forth to get it out of the mud or get it out of the snow.
Yeah, back and forth. You don't always, it's not always forth. It's like forth back.
Right.
Yeah.
So get some motion and a chance to break free.
Hey, would that include asking the person, geez, what have you tried to do about this so far?
I'm going to give you questions. This is why I'm telling you should write them down, because this is above and beyond. This is pretty advanced, right?
Yeah.
Thus, by accident, by doing this, jogging the car a little bit and you give them some bright ideas, right? By accident, this starts to create value for you. It starts to build value for you that nobody else has given them.
Yeah. We're actually trying to be helpful, no matter how good or bad we do it. Other guys just throw numbers at people. I mean, at least we're trying. We're asking some questions. We might wonder a bit, what are they trying to do? Even when we do a bad job, most people aren't even doing that. They just like number, move on, right?
Yep.
At least we're
which is why I start the podcast off with saying your words matter.
Yeah. Your
sentences matter, because if you do this in the name of help, because I got to tell you, I just fired two, and you know this, and it was a tremendous hit for me monetarily. I just fired 2/3 of my coaching group.
Yeah,
we're down to not very many people in my coaching group. Because I'm sick and tired of telling them to do this, or not telling them, or getting their agreement to do something and they don't do it. They don't show up at the calls. They have. It's more important that they have a Super Bowl Monday night football game with a party with a bunch of their friends than to be on the creative real estate call with me. So I fired them. I fired them all. 2/3 of my coaching group, because I don't need to waste my time with people that don't care. Their attention is not on a couple of them I fired because they're all about one guy, which was brutal. He was fairly new. He was brutal. I could not take it anymore. And I have not had that happen to me in 10 years.
Well, would you say they're all about one guy? What is it?
I have one guy that was all about him. All he wanted to do was get right down to the bottom line. What's the offer?
Oh.
He was not interested in helping others. He was interested in helping himself.
Right.
And that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, it does work if you want to do wholesale deals. If you want to buy 60 cents on the dollar and buy somebody that's numb to doing anything else, then that's fine. But you know what? You know what kills wholesale deals?
What?
Appreciation.
Oh, hell yeah.
That kills all kinds of deals. Appreciation, because people think they get more money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. You always want the value of solving the prospect's problems and achieving their objectives to be perceived or believed to be 10 times the value of the profit you're going to get. So basically, if you use help, if you use the help button, in other words, just push help, right? So let me paint a weird picture for you, okay? Let's say we're back in the 1800s.
Okay.
And we're on one side of a river, and there's somebody else on the other side of the river, and the river is a pretty big river. Okay?
Sure.
And the other side has a family over there, and you're native to the land.
Okay.
And they need to come across the river. And you know that they're willing to come across the river, and once they get across the river, then you can, help them, and they will camp there, and they'll buy fur from you, and they'll buy food from you or whatever. You just know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I need to do is I need to figure out, let's say, build a bridge. I'm not saying that that's what I'm going to do, but I need to get across the river. I need to stand on the other side of the river and look to where I just came from. And I need to see, that's where we need to go. And then hold their hand, literally hold their hand, and get them across the river and get to where you just were.
So you got to get to them and bring them across.
Right.
Yeah, because you've said this before, so I'm catching that. It's not that you drag them across. You get to them first and then bring them across.
Right.
You have to meet them. You have to meet them on their ground to actually use an idiom. Literally, you have to meet them on their own ground and then pull them across, meaning you have to go to where they are. You got to understand what's happening to them. You have to see where they are, how they're living, what they're doing, trouble they're having, and then pull them across with your solution.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think that does for them?
Well, first, they see you on their side, not in opposition to them. They see you're on their side trying to find a way to bring them the help they need. But you're understanding what they're going through because you're sitting there with them.
Okay. So let's break it down even further, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. But if I came across the river and I'm standing next to you, and I have to cross that river again with you, what message does that send to you? I'm willing to risk my life to help you.
Yeah.
I'm on your side, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm with you, and I believe that we're going to do this together. This is what rookies miss. This is what rookies miss. Because it's not what you know, It's not even who you know. That does help. But the seller has to believe that you're helping them, that you're on their side. And even though you may not know what you're doing, and you can tell them, this is my first deal. Can you help me do it with you? I will work very hard. I will help you. I especially my coaching clients, like, which, by the way, I decided the other day, I'm going to just say this. It has nothing to do with this conversation, but I decided I'm going to change my coaching group, which is the reason why I fired everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have a coaching group anymore. I think I'm going to put together a mastermind.
Oh.
And I'm going to stop doing coaching.
Huh.
Because I don't want to hold people's hands, because they do not, everything we're talking about right now, their attention units are not on this. It's on life, and they let life push them around, and I'm sick and tired of that. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for people that want help. I'm looking for people that are willing to work and want help, and I want it to be a mastermind. So we have other people in the group that can help them. This is what you're doing when you're in with your seller. You're creating a little mastermind group. You and the seller and your mortgage guy and your buyer, you're putting together like this little mastermind group to help the seller get what they want and help the buyer get what they want. And that's why we call you a creative real estate entrepreneur, because if you were an investor, that means you have a chunk of dough, you want to dump it down, and you just want to get a rate of return. Well, most people that get into this don't have money, as you so much tell us, right? Mm-hmm. So what you do have is resources. People like me and other gurus. If you listen to them, you have resources.
Yep.
Right. So that's why it's really good for rookies to just be honest and say, let me help you, help me. Right. So by going through the experience of crossing that river with the seller, you now know what the seller is going through.
Mm.
You know what the buyer's going through. Right. And I've been preaching on the last couple of podcasts, and I'm going to get off this because we need to really get moving. I just lost 10 minutes that I didn't want to do. I was ahead and I thought I was doing good. So here's what happens. The buyer is what brings the money to the table. You need to understand the buyer. The seller should just be on consignment or be there because you have the ability to bring them their buyer. That's exactly what the realtor system does.
That's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
This guy's telling me he can't wait for me to finish. Okay, here are some street smart tactics I have accumulated over the years that you can use. So you should write these down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Use these phrases to start off your questioning or your journey to understand their situations, and you just plug them in wherever you want.
Right.
So the first one is, let's pretend we could. The next one is, let me take care of this guy.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, so let's pretend we could and fill in the blank on something.
Yeah, these are you know,
could, blah 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 blah. Yeah.
Let's pretend we could give you $200,000.
Yeah, whatever they're talking about. But it's the point is, let's pretend we can, just to have them think about it. I heard you. We've done some calls together, and you're very like soft in a way. If you're not shoving it down their throat, you're like just letting it sit there, letting them look at it. There's no pressure. Like, what if? This is like, and you even said like, well, this is how I'm looking at it. It doesn't mean you have to look at it this way, but here's an idea. So it's very easy for them to look at it. They're not like shoved down their throat that they have to put their hand up and stop it already. I noticed that the last call we did was
Right.
it's a thing of beauty in a sense, you know. How do you get somebody to listen to you? When you walk in the door, they think you're the opposition.
Yeah.
They think you're trying to, you know, like you're on your.
Well, negotiation has the bad connotation that you're taking something away from them to make money.
Yeah, and they have to fight to keep their peace instead of working together. So the pretend is the point there. Keeps it light enough that they can look at it and talk about it, and not be resistive. Maybe. Who's resistive?
All right. So the next one is, what if?
Mm-hmm.
What if I could give you $394,000 for your $300,000 house? Would you be interested?
Mm-hmm.
We do that on our Grand Slam offer.
Right.
Here's another one. Just suppose we could give you $300,000 in all cash and a bag, and a brown paper bag.
Mm-hmm.
Would you? Right? Here's another one. Imagine for a moment. See, this is the car rocking back and forth in the snow or in the mud. You're breaking it free.
Yeah. Well, I think they have their guard up, right? We were looking at this, and this gets their guard down. Just think about it. I'm not telling you to do it. Just what if?
Right.
Calm down, relax. Let's just look.
What's up with this guy?
Now what? There's an adventure in front of now what?
All right. So, what was the last one I gave you?
Imagine for a moment.
Okay, good. Here's the next one. Assuming we are able to.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Have you ever heard or seen this? You know, you've heard me say that a lot. Have you ever heard of a lease option?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of putting a house in a trust and letting somebody else take over the payments, subject to?
Yeah.
Here's another one. Entertain me for a moment.
Yep. See, a lot of these, you know, imagine, that's something in your mind. Assuming, that's thinking in your mind. Have you ever heard? You're looking in your mind. All these things are having them just go in their mind and play around with it. Not in the real world to make a decision. Not in the real world, sign this piece of paper. Not in the real world, pick a number. It's just, this is all in their minds. So you're actually right in the place that has to be conquered or sorted out before you get into the real world and do something. It's all in their mind, assuming things, thinking about stuff. Well, think about, you got this one? Well, think about this. I think I've heard you say that. Think about this.
Right.
That's my version. Think about this. But these things, as you say, paint a picture too. They're just looking at another possibility. So maybe they go from their circle to an oblong, to an egg shape, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We take our square and we move it into a triangle, then an oblong. We find some common ground. Just getting them to think about it and move things around, open their minds to the possibilities of something
Right.
that they shouldn't know about. It's not their job. We're supposed to know all this stuff. We don't expect them to know all these things. We're
Right.
partly teaching them these things as we go. That's why they call it creative. We're creating something here, trying to build something.
So this guy wants to charge me $530 for an hour and a half's worth of work.
Yeah. The labor.
That's $353 an hour.
Yeah. See, I don't know if it's possible, but in my experience, I know that because I've done this. Guy pulls out a book and there's a big fat number in it. This job is that. He doesn't say what the price is per hour, the part price. And then there's other guys that will do it per hour. They're probably hard to find now because the book number is always wicked high. But I think if I ever hire a plumber, I've been starting to do that. I haven't had to hire one in a while. How do you charge? You charge by the hour or by the job? I don't want to pay by the job. I want to charge, what do you charge an hour? How much is the part? Damn it, you're making money. Don't bleed us dry. My plumber who lived down the street renovated the house like crazy, then bought a house 2 towns over in the expensive city. So I think he's overcharging. He's doing manual labor. Sorry. Yeah. He didn't go to school to be Einstein. It's manual labor. Sorry.
All right, here's the next one.
Go.
Entertain me for a moment.
Yeah. We did that one.
Here's the last one. I've done this for others, and you explain it.
Yeah.
And then you say, what do you think?
That's a great one. I mean, when you say that, they understand, hopefully believe that this has been done. You're not making some crazy stuff up. You've done it for people. It's helped them. They've agreed. So it makes it more realistic that they would agree because a lot of people like to go with the herd. Someone else did it. They can do it. That could be where you do a story if you need to convince them. But we have stories after a while. Or somebody who did such and such for someone, even if it's not your own story. I know a guy once, or my friend did. I read it in a book, and I think it's real. Anything.
Okay, good. All right, so let's move on. Once we get these questions and get an acceptable answer, ask, what do you feel would happen next? Should always ask that before you hang up with anybody. What do you feel, or what do you think would happen next, or what should we do next?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm learning that one, including like when could we talk next and what should we do next? Otherwise, you leave it up in the air. And at least this way, you at least have some agreement for them what they think. So say that again. What?
Yeah. What do you feel would happen next?
Yeah. The way you at least leave.
And another way to ask that is, what do you see happening next?
Yeah.
Here's another one. Where should we go from here?
Yeah. Bottom line is, sorry.
Another one is, what would you want to have happen next?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you got that. Let's move on.
Yep. Good.
Most of the time, most think of time differently. This is important. Most think of time differently. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a second.
Yep.
I just told him to do it. I'm done playing with this guy. This guy's a jerk.
Mm,
He can't tell me what I'm paying for. He can't break down the prices.
yeah.
I asked him what his labor rate is. He can't. I've asked him 3 times. And he can't tell me.
No, that sounds like the guy that does the job by the job, like a one fat number, and they don't break it down. They got a little freaking book somewhere. They open it up and they read it. I'm telling you. Yeah. He's a new guy you never used before?
It's ALO.
Oh, a yellow? Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, good.
guys.
So most think of time differently. One, they think of it in the past.
Yeah.
2, they think of it in present time. And 3, and in the future.
Okay, you mean there's something else? Okay. Oh, you got me. What is it?
What is what?
Well, I
I'm
thought
going to tell you right now, 99% of the people are in the past. This is like driving a car, looking in the rearview mirror all the time.
Yeah.
So when probing for the reason or purpose for a seller to sell, it's best to use the right time.
Okay.
Right? Like, no, I don't want to do the. All right, I don't want to do a lease option. How come?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to get stuck for payments. Okay. Well, then you find out when you start breaking it down that like the grandmother who had an apartment in 1920,
Mm-hmm.
somebody paid her late and told him this story, and he doesn't want to do it.
Right.
Right. So there's a word in the English language that is fascinating. The word is extrapolation.
Okay.
So the word extrapolation means you estimate or conclude something that will happen in the future based on what happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So if your wife wakes up every single morning at 7 o'clock, you can assume that tomorrow and the next day she's going to wake up at 7 o'clock.
Fair enough.
So by asking a few of these questions that I just gave to you, you will soon see your seller's trends of how they will continue to work with you and your deal. It's very important for you to predict your seller's behavior so you know how the deal will conduct. The saying is the way you do something is the way you do everything.
Mm.
So you could ask something like, what are some of the hurdles you've had in the past when trying to sell this house?
Exactly.
Right? You could ask them, can you give me an example of what you have been dealing with while trying to sell the house?
Mm.
You could say, what's the toughest thing you've heard? I'm sorry, what's the toughest thing you had to deal with recently with this house?
Mm-hmm.
What steps have you taken to get the house sold? That's the key one right there. That question is worth this whole podcast. That question is worth buying me a box of cigars worth $300 or $500. What steps have you taken to sell this house? Because you are going to find out they haven't. It's all in their head. It's all an imaginary process. And they've not taken any steps in the physical universe yet.
And that's when you would ask them, what's kept you from taking some steps?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something you're worried about that's kept you from doing something? Why haven't you taken some steps? Is there a problem? Because something's going on in their head that they haven't done it. That isn't even the point. It's what the answer to that might be, right?
Yep.
Wow.
So this is another good one. If we don't make a deal, what would plan B be for you?
Yeah.
That's huge, because then you're going to find out what really plan A is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to call my realtor.
Yeah.
That's
what are you going to do if I don't buy a house today? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard you say
and
that.
all you had to push that little bit of a pressure on them. Well, what do you think your family will say about that? Or what do you think your wife will say about that? What do you think your mother will say about that? What about your cousin? Whoever's involved in their life, what do they think if you make that decision? Because it takes it out of them and puts it on their social environment now. So how many times have we done a deal and we talk to the husband and he's Mr. Coy on the other side of the phone negotiating, and then the wife gets on the phone and she's like, no, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I just had this happen with my car. My car's getting the transmission put in it, and they call me and said they want to put brakes on it, and it's $225 more money that I don't want to pay, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, no, I'll just do it when I go home. And I tell my wife, she's like, you call them back right now and tell them to put the brakes on the car.
But it's all highway back home. You don't need the brakes.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here's another one. From your perspective, what would be a valuable way for us to continue together? From your perspective, what would be a valuable way for us to continue together? Now, remember, solution awareness questions get prospects to emotionally own their own situation.
Well, hold on now. Back up there, buddy. Those are a lot of big words. Say that again.
Yeah, I'm 7 minutes past the hour.
Sorry.
I got another page and a half of notes, but
Right.
so we're obviously going a little bit later today. So remember, solution awareness questions get prospects to emotionally own their situation. And your job is to help the seller to understand and feel what the future will be like once they accept your offer for this house. Okay, so now I know today sounds a little bit complex to use. I promise you, if you wrote down those questions and just put them in front of you and just ad hoc, like anytime in your conversation, throw one of those questions in, you'll be like, aha.
Bill, you want to know stupid? This is real stupid. I shouldn't say it in public. It's almost embarrassing. But what throws me off is that, like sometimes you're on the phone already talking about offers because people start the conversation. You can't say, maybe you can say, but you start talking a little bit about it. Then you get there, they start talking about it. So it pulls me toward that part of the conversation where I have to like step back, say, okay, but can I ask you go back into that first half of the discovery, because they pull you out of it. They just keep yanking you into the offer. We have to control the conversation a little better to gently go back into finding things.
I'm going to talk about this on podcast number 431. I'm going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just finish up here. So
okay.
now I know today sounds a little bit complex to use, but once you understand it by using these techniques, you'll see how it really is just a natural flow. If you just keep these questions on your desk and you just, when you feel like what you're telling me is happening, just pick one of the questions and reel it back in.
Yeah.
Realize there's a massive, very huge, very large difference between external pressure and internal tension. We talked about this about 5 podcasts ago. External pressure is imposed upon or pushed on or created by the entrepreneur. So external pressure is imposed on the seller by the creative real estate entrepreneur when they tell them what to believe or think.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I say you're giving the seller a seminar.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Internal tension is created when the creative real estate entrepreneur asks the right questions with the right tonality and empathy. In other words, empathy is putting yourself into somebody else's shoes and feeling the way they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
With correct timing, is it in present time? I'm sorry, is it in the past, present time, or the future? Right? Because you're talking about the future.
Yeah.
They're in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Or in present time. They're not always going to be in the same time track as you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure that you get them up to speed with the time.
Yeah. Well, they could be talking about something I have to move by May 30, like you said before. Or they're
Right.
worried about the future. Like, I can get you there by then. They're worried about what might happen in a while. So they're there.
That doesn't happen a lot, but yes, it's true.
Yeah. So where
Somebody in foreclosure stuck in the past. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to ask the right questions with the right tonality, the correct timing, and curiosity. You got to be very curious. Right? I say all sellers are liars because it's not that they're intentionally lying, it's just that they have false data. They heard things from their neighbor, they heard things from their sister, and they're trying to make that happen for them. Allowing the seller to develop their own beliefs and thoughts about the problem. So you're counseling them. Yeah. You're pushing the car back and forth in the mud or the snow and trying to get them unstuck. When we force reality or our consciousness or our conclusions on sellers, they'll reject them. Peter, you know what you need to do? Right?
2 hands go up. No, 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 no.
Right.
Yep.
Do that with a kid and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right? However, when sellers come to their own conclusion, not only will they accept them, they will fight for them. And I put this in one of I forgot where I put this. I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but they become your best fan club to get the deal done.
Yep.
By the way, this is the exact reason sellers ghost creative real estate entrepreneurs. The entrepreneur put extreme pressure on the seller, telling them what they believe in, what they think, and what they could do, and didn't fully understand the seller's situation and help them walk through the process and get a new movie in their head about what could happen. Right? This is like watching the Titanic movie with your wife in a romantic evening, and 30 minutes in, all of a sudden, the Mickey Mouse Club comes on in black and white, and you can't change the channel. What just happened? Bizarre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So I put a link in the description for you guys so you can get some more information about this, so you can go off and get some tools and do what you got to do. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry I went 14 minutes past the hour tonight, but I think it was worth the time. I said 14 minutes past the hour tonight. It's this morning. In any event, I hope you enjoyed us. I would prefer you subscribe, like us, and leave us a review. And as soon as we get the new private podcast up and going, we'll start putting that link in the description, and you guys can start going over there, because those are going to be a little bit different. The private podcasts aren't going to be, they might be an hour and 14 minutes long, but they're going to be cut in 10 or 15 minute segments, so you can listen to them, and there'll be like chapters in them, so you can go through them and you can hear the different sections at different times, which is another thing I want to change. Okay. So podcast number 431, which is next on the agenda, is called Alarming New Competition Eliminator. and creative real estate for today's economy.
Okay.
And I'm excited about that one because that one took me a little bit of time to write, but I think I nailed it. Okay. So
Very
over and
good.
out. Thank you for all of your support. Make sure you click on the link inside of the description so you can go get your goodies and subscribe and like us and leave us a review. Talk to you on podcast number 431. Flourish and prosper.